Hello everybody, hope you guys are enjoying your day. Today we're going to be looking at your weekly forecast, which is going to be going from the 22nd of March, which would be today, all the way until next Sunday, which would be the 29th of March. We're going to be going over your temperature anomaly forecast, as well as your precipitation anomaly forecast, and your special event segment of the video at the end of the video. Now, so make sure you are staying tuned all the way until the end. Now, we're going to start with your temperature anomaly forecast. Now, this is going to be going from, again, the 22nd through the 29th. We're going to start off with your first layer of above average, and this is going to be your yellow shade. This is going to be for much of the eastern United States, pretty much from Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, Nebraska, South Dakota, and Minnesota eastward. Pretty much all of you guys are going to be experiencing at least slightly above average conditions. Now, let's go to your next shade of above average, and this is your orange shade. This is your moderately above average. This is where I really think you're going to be very warm, potentially a couple days, especially since you are very warm in the deep south and the southeast. As you start getting into later on in spring, the middle portion of spring, you could definitely be in the 80s for a couple of these days, where you're just 20 degrees above average for some of them. So it's going to be a very, very warm week over the southeast, and we even have a third shade of above average here, and this is going to be your well above average region, and this is going to be for Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, and for northern Florida there, experiencing some well above average conditions in terms of temperatures. And this is where I think you're really going to be very, very warm. Potentially we could get a couple days in this area where you're in the 90s. Definitely that would be interesting to see if that does actually pan out, where we do get into the 90s. Definitely even if you don't get into the 90s, it's going to be very above average, and it's going to be very abnormal, the type of temperatures that you're seeing for this time of year. Now, we even have some below average, and this can be for much of the western United States. Basically, from the Great Plains westward, you're going to be seeing some slightly below average conditions. And again, this is for the western United States. We even have some moderately below average conditions, and this is where it's going to be more noticeable over California, Nevada, Utah, and Arizona, and even a little bit there of Oregon. This is where it's going to be, again, more noticeable, and I think you're going to have more prolonged cold air over this area. Now, we even have a third shade of below average, well below average, and this can be for Southern California, Southern Nevada, Southwestern Utah, and Western Arizona, seeing some well below average conditions. This is where I think on average you're going to be about 8 to 10 degrees below average on an averaged out scale for the entire week, which means that you're probably going to have a couple days where you're 20 to 30 degrees below average. So definitely it's going to be very interesting to see how that plays out, and it's definitely going to be very, very cold and chilly compared to your averages over those areas in the deep southwest. Now, here's your precipitation anomaly forecast, and this is going to be showing you where it's going to be wetter and drier than normal. Now, here in this light green shade, this is for much of the country, actually, except for areas into Missouri, Iowa, Nebraska, Kansas, Oklahoma, Texas, into Colorado, New Mexico, and a little bit there of Arizona, and then also there for the southeast, where for Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, South Carolina, Florida, and then also there for the northern tier of the United States, so Minnesota, North Dakota, South Dakota, Wyoming, Montana, Idaho, Oregon, and Washington. All of the rest of those areas, the areas I just named, are going to be dry or average, but the rest of those areas that I didn't name, those are the areas that are going to be seeing some slightly above average conditions, and that's for much of the country. You're going to actually have two systems come through. You're going to have one weaker system move from the southwest and then kind of move through up into the parts of the Dakotas, Minnesota, bring a little bit of snowfall, some rainfall on the southern side. We're also going to have this next system, which we'll talk about. We're going to talk about both of them in the special event segment of the video, but we're going to have the second one that's going to basically move from south to north, and it's going to be splitting pretty much the country in half, and we're going to have some snow on the northwestern side, we're going to have some rain on the southeastern side, and I'll definitely most likely have a video on that, and that's going to be happening around the middle to latter portion of this week. Now, we're going to look at your second shade of above average and moderately above average here, and this is going to be for much of the areas into the mid-Atlantic and coastal Northeast, as well as the Ohio and Tennessee valleys, and then through the Ozarks and into the deep South, where you are going to be seeing some moderately above average conditions. This is really where you're going to get a lot of rainfall, most likely around 2 to 4 inches of rainfall for many of these areas, where you're just going to be extremely above average and from a really a large departure from your normal. Now, we're going to start looking at your below average, and we actually have 3 regions here, and we're going to have one in the northwest for northernmost California, Oregon, Idaho, Montana, and into Washington State there, as well for areas into New Mexico, northern Texas, and Oklahoma, as well as much of Kansas and southern Colorado and Nebraska. They're seeing some slightly below average conditions in terms of precipitation, as well there for southern Louisiana, much of Florida, southern Georgia, and then into southernmost South Carolina, where you are also going to be dealing with some below average precipitation, and it's really going to be more of a patchy below average precipitation. You see, we do actually have 3 regions here, so it's going to be more patchy and it's not going to be as organized below average conditions. Now we're going to start looking at your special event segment of the video. Now this is where you're going to be dealing with a potential snowstorm here, and this is going to be going from the 22nd through the 24th, the 22nd being today, and the 24th would be Tuesday. So I did actually make a video on this on my channel. It's my most recent video. It's the second most recent video. This would be my most recent video, right? This weekly forecast. But I did make a video on that. I actually had my snowfall forecast on that and my rainfall forecast on that. So you can go check that out. It is going to be kind of cutting through areas into Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, moving through Pennsylvania, and then it kind of dies out and then goes into Canada. Then you're going to get this secondary low pressure system to form over areas into Virginia, and it's going to be moving out to sea, and it's going to turn into a nor'easter, and that's where areas into the northeast are actually going to get quite a bit of snowfall. And if this was in January, this would actually be a snowstorm more for the coastal regions of the northeast, but we just don't have enough cold air in place to make that happen. So it's only going to be there for northern New England, upstate New York, and then through the Great Lakes, where you're going to be seeing some snowfall out of this. Now, we're going to look at your next special event, and this is going to be from the 25th, which would be Wednesday, until Thursday, which would be the 26th, and you're seeing this is going to be a light snowstorm, just going to be a 1 to 3 inch light coating on your wooden surfaces, really. So it's not going to be anything too major. It's just going to be a little system, pretty much going to be moving through within 12 hours. So it's not going to be anything too substantial. This is going to be going on for areas into Wyoming, Nebraska, the Dakotas, through Minnesota, Wisconsin, and then through the northern parts of Michigan, where you are going to be dealing with this little mini snowstorm. Now, we are going to be dealing with a large storm here, and this is going to be going from the 27th, and that would be, I believe the 27th would be Friday, and then all the way until the 30th, which would be on Monday, and we're going to be dealing with this large storm. It's going to have a lot of rain to the southern regions of this pink area, and to the north of this. I didn't want to put any snowfall or rainfall official areas on this, because definitely we're pretty much 5 days out, 5-6 days out. Don't want to put too much detail into this yet, because we don't really know what's going to happen just yet. So I will be making a video on that most likely if it does hold together within the models, but definitely we'll have to see, and we'll have to see if this is actually going to pan out. But if it does, it looks like a pretty big system that could dump maybe 2 to 3 inches of rain and maybe up to half a foot of snowfall over the northern regions of that area. So we'll have to see. Definitely something that we'll have to keep our eye on throughout the week, and I'll be updating you guys as we continue and get more information on this event. Now, that is going to wrap it up for today's video. Please consider liking the video, subscribing, and turning on notifications in your next video when I do upload. Anyways, guys, that was Eli the Other Guy, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.